Welcome to the Office of Residential Life. This session is really designed to give you a sense of our culture, and for those of you who are returning, to reinforce our mission and our core values and why we believe and act in some of the ways that we do. As we build kind of a community of practice, it's important for us to all be on the same page with regards to what we value in our organization and what we understand to be our fundamentals. So we're going to start with our office mission. Our office mission is facilitating enjoyable, sustainable, inclusive communities that support and enhance students' academic achievement and personal development. It's important to note that our mission is linked directly to our core values. So when we talk about enjoyable communities, we're talking about our core value of fun. When we're talking about sustainability, we're talking about sustainability. When we're talking about inclusion, that relates to diversity. Academic achievement relates to learning and personal development, and the warmth relates to supporting and enhancing students' experience. So it's important that we're all kind of in congruence with our mission, and actually it's going to be our expectation of you that you're able to tell us what our mission is, both to verbalize the mission, so I would say take a few minutes and memorize it, be able to repeat it, but also to articulate what that mission means and how we live it. What does it mean to facilitate enjoyable, sustainable, inclusive communities? What does it mean to support and enhance students' experience and provide for an enriched academic and personally developing kind of community? So we're going to go through each core value. We're going to start with fun, and I'll turn it over to Terrence.
All right, everybody. So let's talk about how to make that environment enjoyable. And when we start, we think about positivity. We choose to have fun in our work, so we don't want to look at the glass half empty. We really want to be a glass half full community. So when you're able to kind of provide that humor when we're in those stressful situations, that's when we're really looking toward that positivity and really starting to bring in that enjoyable environment. We also want to have a lighthearted environment. So the choice to have fun doesn't mean that we're not going to be serious. It's really just about having making sure that we're not taking ourselves too seriously, and we're actually making sure that we do enjoy the environment that we work in. When we look at a necessary luxury, it can feel like, the fun that we provide in the office environment and our staff meetings is really unnecessary. And, if we just cut out all that fun, then we'd be able to get done with so much more work. But really, similar to sleeping, making sure that we have time to enjoy ourselves and to spend fun time with one another actually helps us in other aspects of our working and our lives. And it really kind of helps you to understand and work together better. And finally, it's about group investment. We want to have fun together so that we're able to work better together, so that we have a mutual trust, that we have experiences, that there's those things that only you and your staff know. And those fun and activities really help to, during the peak times, to make a difference between stressful working and just working hard together.
And you're going to see some of our talking points. We're not going to dwell on those. You can go back and read over them on your own time. We're going to kind of articulate our thoughts and experiences and attitudes towards our core values. But know that those are there as a resource for you, and you can download and review our Prezi every day if you want to. I know probably that's something I'll be doing. Diversity is a word that we hear a lot on campus. It's a word that we hear a lot sort of in our national kind of conversation. And it means a lot of different things to a lot of different folks. So we want to really kind of define that for ourselves, for our community of practice, and think about diversity as really just the individual differences that make each of us unique. Now, some of those differences are going to be associated with cultural identity groups, and those may be grounded in a racial or ethnic affiliation, in a gender and a sexual orientation, and that's fine. But it also may just describe my experience, where I'm from, what I've seen, who I've met, and encountered in my life. That makes me different and unique. And despite the fact that I might relate to some of those cultural identity groups, I, as a person, and probably a lot of us as individuals, don't want to be kind of confined by the shorthand, the sort of cultural shorthand that accompanies some of that, some of those identity groups. It can be insulting. It can feel dismissive, and we don't want to sort of alienate people through the experience of diversity or through their experience of being understood. So we really want to understand people on their own terms, and that's an important part of our diversity concept as a staff. So we place importance on providing opportunities for individuals to express themselves uniquely, to share their experiences and their stories, and to learn from and about one another. So that requires us to listen, to avoid assumptions, and to show respect, and then to confront expressions of intolerance. And a good question is sort of, what does that mean? Am I being intolerant when I say that I just don't agree with your ideas or that our values are in conflict? Actually, that's not the case. Having disagreements or not being of like mind is actually a part of sort of this vibrant collegiate experience. And we want to honor that we can have disagreements, even fundamental disagreements over deeply held beliefs and values, and that our ability to coexist with those is really a hallmark of respect and tolerance. And so combating intolerance then is when we see overt expressions of disrespect that target a person or a group based on their experiences or their identity. And that kind of intolerance is what isn't welcome in our community. And we'll talk a little bit more through the training about how to respond to those kinds of intolerances. So that's our diversity concept.
And the next core value, warmth, it's not one that's new to um, our practice, but it's new to our listing of core values. And the reason we decided to pull warmth and learning, which you'll hear about next, out as core values is because we want our staff to recognize the importance of those two things in their daily work. For warmth, what we're talking about here is being authentic with people. The way that you convey authenticity is through interactions with each other. You know, when you're talking to residents, being present, being in the moment, and really showing that that you're interested in what they're saying. Those are the things that we're talking about when we say warmth as a core value. You can also look at conveying warmth when you're interested in what your residents are talking about. When you're, when you're conveying care, showing kindness, spending time with their residents, and generally building trust. Those are the types of things that you can't really practice for. They're just things that you need to think about when you're working with your residents. The other portion or the other side of warmth is the building community. You know, we really have to think about how we take care of our community. The small things, updating signage, reporting damages, following up with the students to make sure that things that are broken have been repaired, or giving them a sense that we have followed up or we are making sure it's happening. Providing timely information. All of these things add to providing warmth and making the community a place where people want to be. Also establishing a positive, upkept living environment. You know, if you see something broken in the building, make sure that you're telling people. If it's something that you can take care of it. Never assume that someone else has already taken care of something. And the last thought is just as a staff member, We want you to know that you're a part of the community. You're not just a staff member living in the building, but you're a building resident that happens to be a staff member. And you should be receiving that same level of warmth from your other staff members that you're providing to the residents.
Learning is our fourth core value. And learning is something that really, when we think about the college experience, we associate it with inside the classroom kinds of contacts. So I learn when I'm interacting with my faculty or when I'm discussing things with peers, when I'm studying. But we also recognize as student affairs people that learning happens outside the classroom. So when I learn about others, when I learn about myself through interactions with others, formally and informally, in a residential or other out of class context, that's a valuable and valued learning. And that's part of why you're here at Illinois Wesleyan University and other students are here at IW, which is a residential private liberal arts campus. And so we want to recognize that we have a contribution and also a duty to enhance learning. And think about that. Much of the learning that takes place sort of residentially and that we can talk about and think about is grounded in sort of in students' understandings of themselves and others, in their values, their beliefs, and their attitudes. And really, the learning that happens in these kinds of contexts is grounded in dissonance that occurs when I hear something that's counterintuitive to what I know or believe to be true, and I'm pushed to kind of think through my own understandings and maybe reimagine myself in a new frame of thinking. And sometimes that pushes a boundary, and I end up in that place of new thinking. Sometimes it just reaffirms sort of the deeply or strongly held values that I've come into the conversation with. And either way, that's a sign and a signal of growth of my conviction, or growth of maybe growth of my attitudes and thinking outside of what I expected that they would be. And that's important, and that's what we do in the residence halls. So when we take our residents to speakers, or when we take them to campus activities that have this impact, that's an important part of the learning that happens as one of our core values. When we engage students in conversation about their classroom activities or their out-of-classroom activities, their organizational involvement, we're contributing again to learning, and that's important. Another aspect of learning is skills-based learning. So we help students to manage their time better. We give them opportunities to gain coping mechanisms. We talk about financial management, managing conflict, other challenges that maybe span the skill toolkit that students will need when they move beyond Illinois Wesleyan, or even later, as maybe they move off campus, or maybe they move into another context where they need those skills. And a lot of those skills are designed to help de-escalate stress and distress and sort of help students to have a good grounding. And that's important learning.
And our final, and definitely not least important, core value is sustainability. And when we talk about sustainability, we're really talking about that environmental impact. It encompasses our departmental belief that each individual bears a personal responsibility for minimizing his or her impact on the environment. We really have to look at how our residents are impacting, and it's easy to not think about it in a place where all of the bills are kind of taken care of through your payments each year. You don't have to think about what kind of gas am I using or lights that I'm using and those types of things. So it's up to our staff to help students recognize when they're affecting the environment and how they can reduce their impact. Our staff, we should all recognize that the residents come in with different levels of experience. So while we'll talk about reduce, reuse, and recycle, knowing that for some students it's going to be brand new and they may not know the difference between a number 3 and a number 6 container. And for others, it's old hat, and we really have to look at where those levels are. I'm sure some of our staff are at different levels as well. But as staff members, we live this commitment. So it's not just something that we're talking to individuals, but we want you all to also understand your impact and how to best minimize your impact. So along with reducing and reusing and recycling, respecting our environmental impact and our usage, and making sure that that's a normal process for you. We also look at awareness of local, national, and global awareness or environmental concerns. So we look to do some active and passive programming opportunities that will help to highlight some of the things that are going on in terms of social injustices that are happening throughout the nation and on a global level.
So 5 core values: fun, diversity, warmth, learning, sustainability, and they all relate to our mission: facilitating enjoyable, sustainable, inclusive communities that support and enhance students' academic achievement and personal development. These are our critical values. We hope that they grow in importance to you through the training process and through your employment and practice with the Office of Residential Life. And we thank you for your time today.
Have a great day.